Okay, my name is Roger Hull. I'm from California, Pasadena. How do I describe myself right now? I'm a student of art. In the past, I've been an attorney and a teacher. At the time, I was a lawyer in a firm of about 120 attorneys, litigator, very active, very busy. I had 2 young children. Well, I had promised my wife that I would live in Japan at some point, and we wanted to do that when the kids were still young. We stayed in Japan for 2 years. I expected it to be a challenge in terms of the job. It turned out that the job was not challenging. I was used to being very challenged in my job, but I mainly did translations and stuff for the law firm in Japan, low-level research on foreign law, so I wasn't nearly as active as I had hoped to be. For the kids, at the beginning, they had a hard time. I remember one of my clients before I went, he said, and he had immigrated from Mexico, and he said, "Your kids will get in fights." And I said, "Well, they've never been in fights." He said, "But they will." And in fact, they did have, some bullying. For example, my oldest son was a first grader, and there was a 6th grader who followed him home and bullied him, and we had to deal with it, talk to his parents and so forth. So, my kids had a hard time at the beginning, but they made some good friends, and eventually they did just fine. It was hard to get a place to live. We wanted to live near my brother-in-law, and the first 2 or 3 real estate agents took one look at me and said, "We can't help you," because I was not Japanese, even though my wife was a Japanese citizen. But eventually we were able to get someone who would help us, and we found a place to live. It was also a challenge to find a job. I wrote to every law firm I could find in Japan, and I got one interview, and luckily I was able to get that job. Japan's an amazing country. We were able to travel and go around. We spent 2 months camping in the northern part of Japan. Tohoku and Hokkaido was absolutely beautiful, and eventually made a number of friends as well, and had some really good experiences with them. We were planning to only go for a limited period of time. We needed to commit to one country or another. It would be difficult for my kids to re-enter the U.S. school system if we waited too long. We decided to come back when my kids were still early elementary so that they could relearn English. They had lost a lot of their English in speaking Japanese with their friends, school, and my wife. And I was busy commuting to downtown Tokyo for work, so they didn't speak to me as much. And also I felt that I was losing relationship with my kids because they spoke children's Japanese, and my Japanese was limited. It was formal. It was adult. And so I didn't understand a lot of what they were saying, nor did I have a good chance to learn it since I was working so many hours and my job required that I speak English only. I appreciate more the difficulty of moving to any country for anyone. I had a doctorate. I was a respected attorney and member of the community, but I moved to another country, and all of a sudden people spoke to me like a 2-year-old or 2-year-old because that's how I spoke. My level of Japanese was quite low, and people respond to how you speak. I think that made me a more understanding person, so I think it broadened me in that way, and I think living in another country expands your thinking and your compassion and understanding in any case. It was a difficult decision to move back because I know my wife would have liked to have the family live there longer. We realized we had to commit to one country or another, and we decided the U.S., but it would have been an interesting experience to live longer and truly master the language, which I think would have taken me 5 to 10 years. I think in many countries, and certainly in America, we have many people who are very close-minded about different cultures, different nations, different people, different races. We can just look at our government and how they're treating immigrants, and people of color. I think if everyone lived in another country, the world would be a better place.